Very good evening, friends. This side Rahul Magan here as a Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting, and also a venture capitalist. On a very often note, I speak about the banking disclosures. And I'm always very thankful to the US banks, especially Goldman, JP, few European banks like HSBC, BNP, and all, that their disclosures are very good. In fact, I love to praise HSBC the way they disclose the MTM matrices. I hardly see that any bank declare MTM matrices in such a nicest way compared to HSBC. While Goldman and JP Morgan are having their own advantages in reporting. But apparently speaking, or on a holistic note, I will rate all three at least 9.5 out of 10 as far as the annual reports are concerned. And I have to admit that the most important thing in the annual report of banks, US banks, and European banks is that they continuously changing it. Like if you download the 10K of Goldman of last 3 years, then they continuously changing it. By changing means they make it more better. And that is more important. Rather, I don't know whether the time will permit or not, but if Treasury Consulting would launch on MBA program, then we will definitely make it mandatory for all students to read the annual report of at least all US banks. I don't think they are annual reports. They are more like a book. The kind of knowledge they put before you, I really doubt any book can even bother to put that level of knowledge. And when I speak about immunization, I'm always of the opinion that immunization is very rightly defined in US banks. Rather, I can say that I rate all US banks 90 out of 100 as far as the immunization is concerned. Why not 100 out of 100? Because scope of improvement is always there. That's the only reason I'm not giving 100 out of 100. While to Indian banks, I give 10 out of 100. And that is that is due to respect, else they don't deserve even 10 out of 100. Today I got another data to prove my point. And if Indian banks ever disclose immunization, then this point can easily be proved in their balance sheet also. But I am 500% sure that these disclosures will never come. Neither the big four partners, they let them come. That is the most important reason. And more importantly, the people, those who watching the video, they themselves do not know how these disclosures actually look like. That's more important problem rather than the disclosures. I got this data, and this data is suggests that the weighted average term deposit rate in India as of January 2019 is around 6.91%, while standing at August 2020 it is around 5.86%. Okay, which precisely means that in 1 year and 8 months, which is around 20 months, the term deposit rate reduced by 6.91 to 5.86%, which precisely means that there is a decline of around 104 bips in the term deposit rate. And when I speak about term deposit rate, guys, I'm speaking weighted average. So even today, as we speak, which is 28th November, there are many banks we have in India, those who are still offering 7.5%. And I really doubt that how they offer this. Because if as far as my knowledge in immunization is concerned, this is really tricky to offer at this level because the lending rates in the market are very poor. And more importantly, there is a huge credit risk which we have in the market. Huge credit risk we have in the market. In fact, yesterday I was watching one of the credit card companies on TV, and he rightly pointed out. He said that there are two sides of coin. The one side of the coin is definitely people are spending more on credit cards because they have no jobs, their salaries have drawn out, they are not getting increment, and maybe most of the people are now temporary versus permanent. But the other side of the coin is the credit card companies are allowing people to spend, that's okay, but Will we get this money back? I think he raised a very pertinent point. And as we speak on 28th, we can clearly see that where US markets are heading. Dow is down by around 100 or around 1000 points. Rest we know. And guys, God forbid, if Dow break 25,000 tomorrow, then I think the mess is really invited. Then the next stop is direct 23. And I'm telling you, this will come in less than 2 sessions. So today is really a tricky day. Tomorrow is really a tricky day. While if I look at the lending rate, which is once again weighted average lending rate, it is 10.26% in January 19, about 9.65%. Okay, which means that there is a decline of 61 bips. Hey guys, the term deposit rate declined by 104 bips, while the lending rate declined by 61 bips. There is a theory called pass-through mechanism, which is also known as PTM, which means that if the central bank of the country increase or decrease rates by 25 bips, how much ultimately pass into the system? And here we need to give kudos to Reserve Bank of India that they did really well in terms of cutting the rates. Maybe if the situation worsened from here, which looks like they might cut the rate again in near future, to be honest. We cannot deny that. And maybe the repo rate will come down less than 4%. God forbid if the situation consistently worsen, then maybe one more, to be honest. But do you think that these rates are anywhere near to pass-through mechanism? No, they're not. And let me have another evidence. Between February 2019 and now, as we speak, the lending rate of public sector banks fallen by 72 bips, while their deposit rates have declined by 84 bips. Getting my point? I repeat. Between February 2019 and now, the lending rates of public sector banks have fallen by 72 bips, while their deposit rates have fallen by 84 bips. Means more or less sync, right? The lending rate of public sector banks in the same period fallen by 38 bips, while the deposit rates come down by 131 bips, which is precisely 4 times. It means that the lending and borrowing rates of public sector bank from February 2019 till now are more or less inclined. So if RBI is cutting rate, it means the public sector banks are passing this rate to the customer. And also they are cutting the deposit rate. It means both sides it is equal, which is also known as immunization, right? And which is the rightest strategy of immunization. While the same data suggests that if we go for private sector bank, the ratio is 4 because 38 take it as 40, right? 40 is to 131, which is more than 4. It means they will cut the deposit rate by 4 bips, but they will cut the deposit rate by 4 bips, but they will cut their lending rate only by 1 bips, which means 1:4 or 4:1, you can say either way. Now guys, most important thing is that this is what immunization is. And please don't be in a mindset that this is an exact world of immunization. Immunization is a very, very big world. Rather, I can say that there are committees in the big banks like Goldman, JP, Citi, those who are only responsible for immunization. And that is the only reason why these banks faced many wrong times, 2008, 2012, 2013, and now 2020. But still they are standing strong and they are earning huge in trading income. You just check the results Goldman declared, JP Morgan declared, exorbitant. I think it's really hard to believe that in such tough times, Goldman and JP Morgan Chase coming up with tremendous result. And the whole credit of that cannot be given to the traders, those who are sitting. The immunization team is working very closely in terms of monitoring what we need to do, how things moving, and so on and so forth. If we're going to have the immunization disclosures in the Indian Bank's annual report, then things would be very clear. But I'm sure these disclosures will never come. And this is again an evidence that the immunization disclosures of public sector bank are completely different than what we have of the private sector bank. And by the way, this data is in public domain. That is more important, and this data presented today. So on time to time basis, we keep letting people know what exactly is immunization. But I'm sure there are many people who still not understand that. I'm sure about that. There are many people, those who still deny that. I understand that. And there are many people who still believe that, that things like immunization and all these things are waste of time. I understand that. But let me tell them one thing very clearly. Those who believe in that, several big banks busted in the history. Several. Several countries went bankrupt in the history. Several European nations today are on the verge of crash because of absolute poor financial information. Remember that if we postpone the problem, we are only postponing the problem. But we also need to appreciate that a day will come when this problem would be invincible. And in English, the meaning of invincible means extremely difficult to defeat. That is what another video on immunization where we got yet another data and we proved it. The more we delay in terms of immunization disclosures in Indian bank, the more late it would be, the more difficult it would be, and more meaningless it would be. Nothing more is in my hands. But one thing I understand very well: the day Treasury Consulting will get a banking license, and sure, we will get it. Treasury Consulting will have immunization disclosures in their annual report. And Treasury Consulting will assure you that our annual report, if not better than Goldman and JP, then at least not lesser than them. We will stress heavily on our annual report and we will present in such a way that it would be exorbitant. And guys, bank licenses in the future, our Indian entity is about to list, and the kind of presentations which we are making, although we will raise very small money, it's just a formality. The kind of presentations which we are making that will come in public domain in the first quarter of 2021, you will see what exactly is in disclosure. That is. This is Rahul from Treasury Consulting. Our WhatsApp 9818485155. If you have any question pertaining to our app, our fixed income platform, our free reports on hedge fund and currency and so many things, our courses, you can definitely WhatsApp us 9818485155. Have a great time, sir.